However, you mentioned a guy who maybe isn't liked quite as much around wrestling. He was Sting's tag team partner back in the day, and now here in the fall of 1990, he is the WWF World Champion. It's of course the Ultimate Warrior. So Jim, I've talked about Ted and Jake about Warrior on a few occasions, and neither of them have really anything kind to say about the guy. I was wondering what your personal experiences were like with Warrior.
Well, yeah, like Jake, the Warrior was his own guy. You got to get, he wasn't a personable guy. He just didn't have a personality at all. His whole life was bodybuilding and diet, and that was the guy. But he was kind of obnoxious. He had to have his own dressing room. I got to have my own dressing room, which I always thought was a penalty. You're sitting in your own dressing room by yourself. Well, I'm a big shot. Everybody else is playing cards, having fun, and talking, enjoying themselves. But the story that tell a little bit about the Warrior. You had all those neon strings hanging off of them. And this was when we were doing house shows, and they didn't tape everything all the time back in the day. And it was we're doing a battle royal. Now it's Kurt Hennig, who's a good friend, Boss Man, who's a pretty good friend. Both those guys we were all good friends. Kurt and Boss Man were extra good friends. But anyway, we're all in there with the Warrior. Of course, the Warrior would down, check the ropes, had the neon strings hanging off him. So we're in the battle royal. Me and Boss Man, who Boss Man was bigger than me. I was 280 back then. We pushed the Warrior into the corner. Boom, 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 boom. We're lighting him up a little bit. Kurt drops down on the mat, rolls over on the ring apron. He reaches up, he ties one of the nylon strings to the top rope. Warrior's hanging onto the ropes, selling, right? Kurt ties. Me and Boss Man split. The Warrior's like, all right, break. Nylon, it don't break. Oh, no. Goes around his arm like this. The poor Warrior's in the corner. Oh!
What did he wind up doing? He probably had to slide it up out or something, right?
No. Chief Stay Strongbow came down with a pocket knife.
Oh my gosh.
Cut him loose.
That probably doesn't look great in front of a live crowd.
Me, Boss, and Kurt got a free trip to Stamford, Connecticut. Yeah, it was some small show. There was nobody there, When you were working all the time back in the day, it was a different business.
Got to do something to keep yourself sane.
A lot of horseplay, especially with Kurt. Kurt was one of the best, man. It was a lot of fun to be on the road with.
Warrior, though, what did you think of him? I mean, he's been the champion here since WrestleMania. What did you think of him as the flag bearer for the company?
Oh, I thought he was a good flag bearer. Yeah, he's the type guy you want as your world champion, as your marquee guy. Guy like Hogan, a guy like Cena, Roman Reigns. Nowadays, you want that guy that looks good body, talks well on camera, got that charisma. He's the type guy. Even though the guy was not pleasant backstage, he did his job, man. He couldn't wrestle. Of course, that people say, Hacksaw, what was your favorite move? I said, I kick and punch. I'm a brawler. I'm not a wrestler. Guys like Kurt and Jake and DiBiase, those guys were wrestlers. Hogan, myself, we weren't considered wrestlers.
Yeah, big difference in styles for sure. I would say that not
an understatement, brother.
not to
you should run for office.
Trying to be diplomatic, not to speak ill of Warrior. I always enjoyed your work more than his, so I don't know, maybe it's a personal preference thing, but yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. The guy's got a great look, and gosh, he was certainly over with the audience. So those are two big components right there.
Yeah, and it's like Vince. The guy. He's my boss. He's not my friend. Warrior was the world champion. I didn't interact with him. Back like I said, we're all not lead singers in the band. He's up there singing. I would do my gig, and a lot of guys would sit around. Did you see the last match? No. Just about then, me and Dr. Death, Terry Gordy, were pulling up to seminary.
Yeah, no, you guys were behaving yourselves, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh man.